Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. We are live on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for another edition of Smack Talk. Rick Ucchino is not here with us this week. I think he might pop in as he is live in Dallas, feet on the ground in Dallas, Texas at the Hall of Fame. But I am here with who should be a WWE Hall of Famer, legendary manager himself, Dutch Mantell. How you doing tonight, Dutch?
I'm doing great. So right before we went on the air, we were discussing the two shows. And you said, well, wait a minute. We'll talk about it while we're on the air. So I'm ready to go.
Let's talk about it. We had WWE SmackDown tonight in Dallas, Texas. You also had AEW Rampage that was taped on Wednesday in Columbia, South Carolina. If you are watching with us, you're here with us live, remember to drop a thumbs up on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe if you are new to the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel. Plenty of great content. I had my WrestleMania 38 nights 1 and 2 preview earlier this week with Kenny Bolin. You also got the reviews that are going to go down after the shows, the post shows with Jeremy, Jose, and Kevin. You also got plenty of content, interviews coming up from WrestleMania week. So it's a great time to subscribe. And if you're watching us on Facebook, remember to drop a like, a heart emoji, a laugh emoji, however SmackDown and Rampage made you feel tonight. Let us know with those emojis, and of course, retweet us on Twitter machine. But Dutch, overall, what did you think of the night from SmackDown and Rampage?
Well, I'm required to do this by mandated contract. But I watched both shows. And tonight you saw the Tale of Two Cities. You like that? I just thought I'd throw that in there because just by cultural reference. But I think we saw WWE, and I don't say a lot of good things about WWE because I think most of their stuff just basic 1, 2, 3 stuff, ABC stuff. But tonight I think we saw WWE at its best because they had a good crowd, and they're in that building for 3 nights, right?
Yeah.
Tonight, tomorrow night, Sunday night. And with 38 matches, they got that many matches? Do they have that many?
I think it's about 14 matches officially on the cards for night 1 and 2, and then the Stone Cold KO show.
Well, somebody told me like 30-some matches, but anyway, but that's too much. But anyway, but tonight we understood everything that WWE was doing. It's a maintenance night, but they did it well. Something happened with Madcap Moss that surprised me, and then they came back and kind of built on that a little bit. Of course, they brought in McIntyre later on for the match. It was good. I like what they did with Ricochet. I like that, and they had it was, to me, it was an enjoyable night. And then I'd go to Rampage. Rampage is a pre-tape show. I got it. And I got some advice for them. Some of those guys need to wear red or light blue or light green because they fade into the background. See, I'm looking in there, and the black may look good, and their lighting is nowhere close to WWE lighting because that's expensive lighting. But guys, you need to wear something that stands out and is not black or dark. So. And that interview we'll get to this in a minute, with Danhausen and
Hook.
Hook.
Yeah.
See, I'm not familiar with Danhausen. I'm not. I don't know what his background is, and I think a lot of people are like that. They don't know who this guy is, but they didn't even take the time to explain it. No. And they had several in there, and then the girls, they got no introduction because it's a tape show. It must have ran over or something. But I like tonight. I like a SmackDown beat Rampage 3-1. That's my opinion.
That is fair.
Because if you are following Rampage and you're familiar with those guys, and another thing, I hate the announcing on Rampage. Especially when they say we're going to a city. I can't understand it. And I don't think the guy doing the closed captioning can follow it either. So they're messing him up. But anyway, tonight I'm gonna say Raw took the night.
SmackDown.
I was like, yeah, SmackDown took the night. Hey, I've been hit. I've been hit on the head a couple 100,000 times,
That is fair.
and sometimes I have somebody have their face, and I'm sure a lot of people like this. I hope, but I just can't recall the name. Thank God for Google, and I go and I just remember a movie. I put movie cast so and so, and then they'll pop up, and I say, I knew that. What do you think of the night?
I will be honest. I was watching 3 different shows throughout tonight. I watched
Oh,
SmackDown.
that
I
is not
watched
fair. That is not fair. Read you, have you listened to this? He's watching an extra show.
Yes, because we had SmackDown and Rampage going on between 8 and 11. Also, what was going on was ROH Supercard of Honor. They had a classic FTR versus Briscoes match for the ROH World Tag Team Champions. New champions galore. A lot of wins for AEW talent, but most importantly, the
You
ending.
think?
The ending, yes, the ending of the night saw ROH and the new undisputed ROH World Champion Jonathan Gresham. He got approached by Jay Lethal, who had his heel turn on this show by giving a low blow to Lee Moriarty and attacking the injured Matt Sydal. He came out and challenged Jonathan Gresham. Him and Sanjay Dutt jumped Jonathan Gresham after Gresham's win. They also attacked Lee Moriarty, and none other than former WWE star, former NXT champion Samoa Joe arrived, and he showed up and took out Sanjay Dutt, made a statement in front of Jay
Good.
Lethal, and announced after the show went off the air, he is now officially All Elite. Breaking news, Samoa Joe has signed with AEW. He is officially hashtag All Elite after his return to Ring of Honor tonight. Dutch, I'm going to get your initial reaction. I know I told you a little bit about him arriving at ROH Supercard of Honor tonight, but what's your thoughts on Samoa Joe heading to AEW?
Oh, he'll help them. Samoa Joe's a great talent. Good talker. Nothing he can't do, and he's a very good addition to All Elite. But I mean, I wonder where he's going to go, which is another thing. Sanjay Dutt is in Ring of Honor.
He's been a producer for basically AEW. Yeah.
I see.
But he's best friends with Jay Lethal, so I guess he's going to be a part of Jay Lethal's new heel character, which it was a good matchup that he had earlier in the night with Lee Moriarty. The young man was frustrating him to the point that he used a low blow. This is following up from the story that started on AEW. I think you saw it last week with the promo where he talked about all of his losses getting to him, and he had to change the way he was doing. He lost to Jon Moxley on AEW Dynamite, and then tonight he gave a low blow to Lee Moriarty and officially turned heel.
That bastard.
And it's a great story because Jonathan Gresham is one of his proteges, someone that he's basically like helped out in his young career. But also Samoa Joe was Jay Lethal's mentor in the old school Ring of Honor. So it's basically 3 generations of former ROH world champions have come together here. But you have experience working with Samoa Joe. How was your time in TNA while Joe was there?
Oh, it was great. Very good. You just say, hey, you just give him what you want and leave him alone. Because a lot of the time he was working with AJ. He was working with Chris Daniels. He was working with, those guys can work. They know what to do. And in a lot of ways, they work better than guys that are trying to make main eventers now in WWE. I'll say that. But they made everything count. They were the time efficient, move efficient, and told the story efficient. Very seldom do you see guys with, and I don't know how long Joe had been in the business when I met him, probably, I guess, 3-4 years or whatever. And AJ hadn't been in very long at all, but they're what you call naturals.
Yeah.
And you just got to kind of tell them what's needed to be done, and the rest of it just comes naturally. It's like if you can play baseball, you can play baseball. If you can, make moves, you can actually wrestle. But what you have to be taught You have to be taught timing and placement. And those guys didn't really have to be taught that because they kind of got it talking to each other. And you go in the ring and you may have to correct a few things, not much. So that's why to be an agent for those guys, actually, you listen to them instead of them listening to you. All you do, you say, this is the outcome. This is what we need. And we need this emotion going through the match or whatever. And they put the moves to it. So, and working with AJ is great. Working with Joe's great. So I wish everybody was that way. But where you get most of the trouble is guys that really can't work anywhere close to AJ and Joe. And they're saying, I don't know if I should do this. They're whiny. They're like little babies sometimes. You know who the worst was? And I hate to say this.
Oh,
Lex Luger.
really?
He was one of the worst. WrestleMania 9 or 10, the one that was in Connecticut. Hartford, Connecticut.
That was 11.
It was 11, okay.
Mm-hmm.
We had an 8-minute match. I'm going to tell this little story. So they got us together on that Sunday about 12 or 1 o'clock. For an 8-minute match, it took 3 hours. Now, I'm just the manager. I didn't have anything to do with the match. So I'm listening, and I'm listening, and I'm listening. And they would bring up something to Lex, and Lex would go, I don't know if Lex would do that. Like he's talking third person. I went,
Oh, God.
brother, please. Then I said, why don't we just do this, guys? Get some heat on Lex, or I forgot how it went. Make the hot tag, do boom, 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 bam, and we're home. They said, that sounds good. That sounds good. And I'm thinking, we could have done this 3 hours ago. Instead of me sitting here and listening to this damn bull crap day. I mean, Ron and Don, they were agreeing to like everything. It was Lex. Lex didn't agree to nothing. Lex was almost to the point of me saying, shut the F up. Please. We're on first match. I said, Lex, I don't think anybody bought a ticket to see you out here tonight. Seriously. But I didn't. I was very, very reverent and very respectful. But guys, and back to my point, but guys like AJ and Samoa Joe worked for the match.
Yeah.
Lex was working for Lex. So, and a lot of times, I always heard, I may have said this last week, but old time Brooker told me one time, never let the talent, because we didn't call it then, we just called it wrestlers. Never let the wrestlers come up with their own finish. And I said, why? He said, well, the finish will suck most of the time. And they do things that won't hurt them too bad. So, and that's what I liked about Joe and AJ. They would work to the match. And if they got beat clean, they got beat clean.
Yeah.
They didn't seem to mind that as long as the match made them look like they had a chance. Now, they may be different now, but I doubt it. I doubt it very seriously.
Yeah.
So, how would you rate the shows tonight? Rampage, or who would you like? Who'd you like more?
In between Rampage and SmackDown, I think this is a rare case where I think it's a tie. I really didn't think anything happened on SmackDown. I did like the Intercontinental Championship matchup. I thought that was a fun match, but outside of that, I could have done without the Andre the Giant Memorial, seeing multiple champions lose just to have someone that we both dislike in Madcap Moss win. The women's tag team match, I've seen it before and it was shorter this time. Charlotte and Ronda promos was nothing to write home about, and then they ended the whole show with happy talk. That's a thumbs down for me.
But I did like Madcap Moss going over in that, because they usually do that in that battle royal. Cesaro won it that year. Nobody expected him to win it. Nobody expected Corbin to win it when he won it, and nobody expected Madcap Moss to win it. So, and when you have things like that, I kind of enjoyed it for him. You know, a guy I cannot stand, and I hate to say this, is Rick Boogs. Oh my
Oh
God!
man,
You know
why do you
they were
dislike
they.
Rick Boogs?
I just don't like him. I just for some reason because I think he should have come out there tonight just in Dallas and played a country song. I think that crowd would have damn went crazy
Probably so. Yeah,
because
probably so.
that gives him range now. And then have them the guy come out dancing to it, they'd have went nuts. Now that would have made him a super baby face, especially in Dallas. And one of the things I'm looking forward to, which I'm not going to watch the thing, I watched the highlights of it. I'm looking forward to the Stone Cold Steve Austin and the KO matchup. It's not going to be a match, but I bet it will be good as long as it ends up, and I hope it ends up. But never put it beyond WWE creative to screw stuff up. And I don't think you can screw this up.
Yes.
Not when you have Stone Cold in there. Stone Cold's going to say, "Hey, I'm going to end it up with the kick and the stunner. That's it." Because I don't have to be here. If you don't do it, I'm just going to walk out the door. Well, he won't say that, but you know they'll go along with what he wants. But that'll be good. Another thing I'm looking forward to is Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn.
Yes.
So that will be good because all his old friends are going to drop in out of the ceiling or from under the ring or from the crowd, or because he's almost killed himself on some of those stunts anyway.
True.
So, and it's something to see. Now, when I first heard that WrestleMania is the greatest WrestleMania of all time, I'm thinking
the most stupendous. You got to get the verbiage right.
okay,
Stupendous.
stupendous, and I'm thinking, oh crap! But after seeing the scope of it now, it is the most stupendous WrestleMania of all time. Because look at the building they're in. How many people's in that building tonight? Just for SmackDown.
I believe that building holds about 10,000 in the American Airlines Center where they were at. So yeah.
So they were in the they were in the stadium, right?
No. They're in the stadium on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. So how many they have in there tonight? Because about a third of it is blocked off, a quarter of it anyway,
Yeah,
for the
so
end zones.
They probably for SmackDown tonight they probably fit about 7,000 to 8,000 in there. For AT&T Stadium, I believe they've sold about 50,000 to 60,000 on each night, and it holds about 100,000 people.
Well, to put 60,000 in there on successive nights,
Yeah,
that's still a major undertaking.
yeah.
And I think they thought they were going to sell it out, but if they don't sell it out, they're not hurt.
No.
Because you know how much money WWE makes on a WrestleMania weekend just
How
on the
much?
live events.
How much?
Well, first of all, it's ticket sales. You go with that. Then you go to the Fan Fest. Cost you to get in. It costs you $500 before you walk out. But here's a guy selling, meet and greet pictures for whatever, $30 or whatever. And then you get an autograph, you sign it. That's another $25. T-shirts. You go through there, you meet all these people, and there's no telling how much money they actually take in. I'm going to go off. I think it might hit, and I may be way off. I think it might hit $5 million just with the merchandise. And that's nothing but profit there. And this is what I didn't like about WWE when I was there. The talent only gets really a fraction of that.
Yeah.
Because say you do house shows and your house shows doesn't match up to your downside guarantee. If you want to break it down by weeks, you don't get it that week. But at the end of the year, whatever you say you signed for $250,000, but you've only earned $175,000. Well, they give you $75,000, but they don't give you nothing. They give you the rest of your merchandise sales. It's not like it's costing them money because you've already earned it. And I think that's what a lot of guys, when they think about signing the contract, you got to think about all that merchandise sales and all this kind of stuff. Another thing that I was thinking, Madcap Moss, and they did a Snickers commercial.
Yes.
How's that figured in? I wonder.
I do know that they have opened up them being able to do third party participation. Like they have a deal with Cameo for the weekend. They've opened up now Twitch and stuff like that. The stuff that Zelina Vega left the company for originally, it's now been reopened thanks to a meeting that they had at the beginning of the weekend with Nick Khan and Triple H showing up there. So they're open to more different things now, so it's good for the talent out there. But I did have one more question for you, Dutch, about if in case you are just joining us on Smack Talk, we broke the news here that Samoa Joe is now all elite after showing up at Ring of Honor's Supercard of Honor at the end to make the save for Jonathan Gresham and Lee Moriarty, laying out Sanjay Dutt. But another person signed with All Elite Wrestling this week, Dutch, someone else that you said that you have liked in the past. You've seen her on SmackDown a couple of months back. She left the company, asked for her release, and it was granted. And this week she showed up on AEW Dynamite. I am talking about Toni Storm, who is now advanced to the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament. So she is now all elite as well. What's your thoughts on Toni Storm being in AEW?
Good for her and good for AEW. I like that girl. When I saw her on SmackDown, I liked her.
Yeah.
And then we went to her getting a pie in the face and this, that, and the other with Charlotte. And I really don't blame her. And I think she was probably burnt out and she missed home. She was homesick. Of course, they had I think we would have seen her earlier, except Australia was locked down because of the virus. I knew a guy down there, and I would talk to him every now and then. And he said everything had just, the streets were literally empty, and they could arrest you if they saw you out. If it wasn't like an emergency or something really pressing, they could arrest you. I think, which is drastic. But I'm glad. I think we would have seen her earlier, like I'm saying. But I think the lockdown held her back. But that is a good move for her. And a good move for AEW. And I've said this before. I think AEW's female roster, is actually better than WWE's. I think they have more. They have some bench.
Yeah.
And why do they have bench? Because you see these girls on TV. See, I don't think WWE doesn't have a bench on the men and the women's side. It's because you don't see them. And now WWE, they're kind of, AEW, they're kind of getting just a little bit like that too. Because what happened to Rusev, Miro?
Oh, well, Miro was hurt at first, and now he's actually filming a movie. But he's already re-signed for 4 more years with AEW. I think he's just focused on some outside ventures. He's a part of a new CBS show called East New York that is filming in Brooklyn just by me.
Mm-hmm. So what's he doing in that? Posing as a Bulgarian or Hungarian or whatever?
I believe he has a Russian name, so he's going to be a Russian in that film. So, in that movie, I guess it's a TV show. It's a pilot that he's filming right now. I think.
So what is Lana doing?
She's also doing some film work. So I feel like the way she's been talking, she's going to be focusing primarily on film work. She kind of talked about it on an Instagram post that she was done with the toxic environment in WWE, and she just feels like she's going to focus on her film work for right now.
See, this is what I hate about guys that get out of wrestling. And she had a great run.
Yeah.
So did Rusev. But for Lana, and I like her, but there's no need to knock WWE. No matter how they treated her, look what she got out of it.
Sure.
Be appreciative that you were on a show that 1 million, 2 million people watched. And but her to get out talking about the toxic environment, and so she thinks wrestling is toxic. Get in the movie business. Get into that. Any business can be toxic if you're fighting for it all day long. And of course, everybody at WWE, it's a contest. I told a guy one time, he said, I have friends. I said, no, you don't really have friends. You have associates. and you can get along with them. But that associate wants your spot, or you want his spot. And it may not be so toxic that it's out in the open, but still, and everybody understands that. What people don't understand is what we used to call, I don't know, they're like backstabbers. There'll be, and you have this in real life too, people who are friendly to your face, but then go behind your back and slam you. And in wrestling, it's an easy thing to do. It's happened forever since we learned about that in the Bible. That's where wrestling actually comes from. Good versus evil, Abel and Cain, back in devil and God. I mean, it's good versus bad, and that's just the way life works. But I wish Lana wasn't talking about the toxic environment, and it is toxic. I'm not saying it's not, but you got to realize. See, what is the lifespan of an average WWE performer? The average, not the top guys. Top guys.
I'm not too sure.
I'd say 3-4 years.
That's
it's
fair.
like an NFL football player. They average one, they last 3-4 years, so they trade them off. And you have some that last years and years and years. Those are your top players. But out of that 3 or 4 years, Lana. And it's not all WWE. I mean, she has talent. She's a good-looking woman, good talker. But somebody noticed her and says, well, hey, I like her. And some producer or some director saw her, or some talent scout saw her and put her out there, and somebody picked her. So I hate to hear people really slam wrestling, even though they got treated like crap, they may have. But if they got something out of it, then it wasn't all for naught.
That's fair.
See, what I would get pissed off about is they take you there, kill you off, and nobody sees you, and you don't get nothing out of it. That's happened more times than what's happened to Lana. Or Lana, or whatever. What is her name? Lana? Or
her real name is CJ Perry.
Yeah, but I always call her Lana because I'm from down south. And say her name is Lana. I said, okay. And I would continue to just call her by the wrong name. I did that on purpose.
Continue to botch it.
Oh, yeah. And I always got, who did Moxley? What's that girl's name? Pache, what's her name?
John Moxley's wife.
Yeah.
Renee Paquette.
Yeah. I used to call her Raylene.
Raylene.
Yeah, I said, hey, Raylene. She says, Renee. I said, that's what I said. I said that, didn't I, Raylene? And I just kept going. So
I wish I would have known this last week. We actually did the WrestleMania prediction show on the Believe in Pro Wrestling podcast with myself and Rick, with Renee Paquette as our special guest. I wish you would have told us that last week. Yeah. We would have told her.
She's great. I like that girl. But this is another thing. She got to the announcer's job, or the commentator, not commentator, but she's the interviewer job.
Yeah.
Where did she come from?
I believe she was doing like Fox Sports and stuff like that. She was like doing like sports before she got into WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she made the smooth transition there. Okay. She was a great host at that.
These girls they got now, the little Kayla
Braxton.
Kayla, she's okay. Who's this other girl? She's a dark-headed girl. Who is she?
All of them kind of just blend together, except for Kayla. Kayla stands out for me, but
she's good.
Yeah, she's actually good.
Her and Paul Heyman are great together.
Yeah, the other ones kind of just blend.
You can tell Paul likes her because he works with her. The other girl, I don't know if he could work with her as well, but
yeah.
And Kayla stands there half smiling like it's, she wants to. That is actually a pretty good deal they do.
Absolutely. But let's get into the shows here. You first had SmackDown on tonight. They started off things with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
Did you know it was going to start that way?
I figured it would start with one of the two matches that they advertised. So I thought
Mm-hmm.
it would either be the Intercontinental title or the Andre the Giant Memorial. They did a nice little video package telling you about the history of Andre the Giant in battle royals. We also got everyone was in the ring kind of to start out, except for a few guys. We got Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode had their own entrance. The commentary talk about Dolph Ziggler winning the NXT Championship, and he's going to be going up against Braun Breaker at Stand and Deliver tomorrow. You also had Finn Balor make his entrance, the United States champion, and
Mm-hmm.
yep. So he's on this show, but not on WrestleMania. But he had a strong showing in this matchup. It came down to the Dirty Dogs, Finn Balor, and Madcap Moss. Just when the Dirty Dogs looked like they were going to eliminate Balor, Madcap Moss came from behind and almost eliminated all three men. But Finn Balor hung on. It came down to Moss and Balor. Balor hits a sling blade on Moss, but Moss then avoids the charge and tosses Balor out. So he wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale, matching his boss, Happy Corbin, who won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on his first match in the main roster. Post-match, Moss gets on the mic, and he's happy to have done this all by himself. Ever since he was a
Mm-hmm.
kid, he looked up to Andre the Giant. Andre was his hero, and he's always wanted to follow in Andre's large footsteps. And he gives us the joke, what do you call a battle royal named after the smartest
Yeah,
Texans around? A cattle royal.
I like that. It's so corny. It's funny. It really is. And he's the type of guy you kind of hate, but you want to kind of like. And I've liked him better than Corbin anyway, even though I did like broke Corbin.
I like bum ass Corbin. Yeah.
But now, I think you can actually work something between those two that will have just a little. At least it has history. At least they've told this story, and now they can probably pull the trigger on it. But what WWE is noted to do, they pull the trigger and then just dump it.
Yeah.
They'll get rid of it, milk it dry. So, but I did like Madcap Moss getting it because I knew when it got down to Madcap Moss and the four of them, Balor was in there and the other two dogs were in there. That's when I said, okay, Madcap's winning this one. And he did.
Yeah.
Because when he won, now he sets up this interview later. He had two, actually. He had one after, and then he had one with Corbin.
He was in 3 segments on that.
And so I think they're going to push him because I think the people like him. So, okay,
I think they would if it was just focused on his in-ring ability. I think he's pretty good in the ring. It's just he has dog crap to kind of talk about. Like he on the mic, it's just dog crap. It's just he has horrible material, but he performs it well for what he does. I just felt like this whole battle royal was a waste of time. I felt like they were just rushing through this whole thing to get.
Didn't it have a time limit?
No.
I thought this
WWE
said
no,
2
WWE
minutes
doesn't
to
have
go.
WWE
they don't
doesn't
have
have
time
time limits.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. Which is a thing they should bring back.
I agree.
You know what?
It works
They
for
should,
AEW.
you know why they should bring it back?
Why?
Because you can have two guys go in the old term school for a time limit draw is a Broadway.
Yeah.
That's what they call it, a Broadway. And I was so stupid. I asked one time, I said, I'm from down south, of course. I said, why do they call it a Broadway? Somebody said, hell, I don't know, kid. That's just what they call it. Shut up. So they called it a Broadway. But that's the way you can get through a match without beating a guy. I mean, you can only DQ them so much, but have them go through.
Yeah, I think AEW's
I
done
went
it
a
effectively.
Broadway. I went an hour Broadway my first year in the business.
Who did you go our Broadway with?
A kid named Ted Oates I broke in with. It scared me to death. I said, an hour? What the hell are we going to do for an hour? And the booker told me, he said, you're going to do the same stuff you did the first 15 minutes. I said, and I was in shape then. I could do it. And we did it. I did too. So, and I don't know how I did it. I think they cut a little bit of time off. I think they didn't tell me that. But all of a sudden he says 30 minutes left. Then like 5 minutes later, they said 15 minutes left. I said, wow, time flew. But anyway, I think they should bring the Broadway back, and there's a lot of things they should bring back. We'll talk about it sometime. We got more time.
Yes. So they went into the next match that was advertised on the show, which was the Intercontinental Championship match. We got a video package, of course, because the show had a lot of video packages, but we had a video package to show.
Hence the term maintenance show.
Yes. They had a video package to cover what happened last week with Ricochet and the Los Lotharios. Post break, they talk about the Intercontinental title being prestigious because telling is better than showing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Los Lotharios head to the ring, and we got a three-way matchup between Ricochet, Humberto Carrillo, and Angel Garza. I thought that this was really good. You had
Very good match.
three very talented guys.
Loved the finish.
There was a top rope arm drag by Humberto at one point.
Never seen that.
Yeah. The story of the match really was Los Lotharios teaming up together to try to beat Ricochet, but of course the infighting started
with
when
a shade of who's going to turn on who. You expected that, and I'm thinking it's way, way, way too early for this and too close to WrestleMania. But they planted the seed, so now it's there.
They did it very, very well. Ricochet had a slow motion Hurricane Rana at one point, but Angel broke up the pin with a super kick. We got Humberto roll up Angel for a 2, and then they started yelling at each other. Their infighting kind of backfired on them. They got Ricochet on the top rope, but he basically does a front suplex on Humberto onto Angel Garza. He hits the 630 into the recall. That was so smooth. I agree with you. That finish was awesome, and Ricochet picks up the win. It was a good match overall. They teased the violence between Los Lotharios without like fully committing to it, and that was probably a good idea because the tag scene needs them in the tag team scene. But Ricochet came off very well here, and I felt watching this match, I was like, this would have been even better if it was on WrestleMania, at least on the kickoff show to WrestleMania. I would have enjoyed this a lot more, but what did you think about this match here?
Oh, it was a great match. This is what I said earlier. We saw WWE at its best because the crowd looked great. The announcing was great. The matches were great. There was not one mess up in the whole thing. And this match here, that finish is already on the highlight reel because it's so smooth. It boom, boom, bam, 1, 2, 3. If he'd have kicked out, the place would have been, oh. So I've done that on false finishes before. I won too. I said they should have went home on that one, but because the next one has to be more impactful than the one he kicked out on.
Yeah,
but I'm glad he pinned him on that because that was a great, great finish. It's a good thing I sent it to him. I sent it to him yesterday, so they used it. So
they looked at one of your old tapes where you did 630s, right?
Yeah, well, I did actually 618s.
Oh, okay.
Because I did mine in degrees. So
got you. Right degree angles. Post break, we got a video package highlighting Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin. I know you don't usually regularly watch Raw, but what did you think about the video package about what's been going on with Owens and Austin leading up to WrestleMania?
I love that. Because Kevin Owens steps into it's an angle that's already made. He's just the one that's carrying it out. All you got to do is go out there. I like the way he wears that cowboy hat sideways or whatever he does, and that's what it boils down to. Because it's almost like juvenile humor. But now Stone Cold, when he gets that, of course, he's going to use it, and it'll be good. And it's in Texas, so it's tailor-made for both them. Remember, I asked you last week. Was it last week? I asked you, are they going to have a match? And you said no. It's just the KO show, right?
Yeah.
What's the name of it?
Yeah, okay. The KO show.
And it's going to end up with the stunner and the kick, and everybody in Texas will be happy.
So my question for you, Dutch, is despite it being a talk show, do you think Stone Cold Steve Austin on the KO show should main event night 1 of WrestleMania?
So I don't think he'll main event it. I mean, be the last match.
Yeah, because that's been the speculation. They've basically WWE, according to Wrestling Observer newsletter, has been going back and forth between the KO show and Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey to close out night 1.
Well, I think the people would be more enthusiastic with the Stone Cold thing at the end because they'd leave happy and drinking beer and raising hell, and it's a fun way to leave. Now, and I don't think Ronda Rousey and Rick and Charlotte Flair even come close to Stone Cold and KO.
No.
But thinking about it now, I think it is a good way to end it. Because if I went to the show, what am I looking for more than anything? To see Stone Cold for 19 years.
Yeah.
So end it on that. That's the best way you can end it, because anything that follows that is going to be a downer.
I think that's what WWE is thinking.
Yeah, I'd hate to follow it. And I think if they figure that out, I think that Stone Cold and Kevin Owens will main event, as you call it, going last, main event the show. Because people go through that door, they're happy, they're up, and the energy is flowing, and it's a good way to end it.
I just think people might leave after Stone Cold, so that's why I think it should headline the show. I think there's going to be a good amount of people that might do that.
That's possible too. Because I think, hey, if you see Owens and Steve Austin, what's going to follow is a drop down. So it'd be a good time to leave. And what I said, I hate to be the match because, in WWE, they notice that if people are leaving during your match, they say, So I'm going to go on record as saying I think that Owens and Austin will close the night.
Makes the world of sense, but we got to talk about the next matchup on the show.
Do we have to?
It was a little preview for the Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag Team matchup as the Women's Tag Team Champions Queen Zelina and Carmella versus Naomi and Sasha Banks. This was a rematch from a couple of weeks back. Not too much to this, at all. I think it went about 3.5 minutes, but Sasha Banks does a Vader bomb, followed by Naomi hitting a split-legged moonsault on Zelina to get the victory.
Of course, on Zelina, they beat that girl. They beat that girl like a drum. That's why I like her.
She's still over. Despite them beating her every single week.
She's like the smallest girl there.
Yeah.
Isn't she?
Yeah, think so.
But she always in there good. I like that girl. But here's another thing I was going to bring up. Do you remember the little video piece they just inserted in there for maybe 10 seconds? It was Baszler training in a room. You know what that is, right?
I was about to bring that up because that's the next segment we're going to be talking about, where we get some video on Ronda Rousey. We come back first with a reminder that WrestleMania is tomorrow, and then we go to Kayla Braxton, where she interviews Ronda Rousey as Ronda Rousey was sparring. They literally acted like she was sparring with a random person. No, that was Shayna Baszler right there. And they asked Ronda about being angry at Charlotte Flair. Ronda says she's angry, but isn't going to waste her energy on that until she gets in the ring with Charlotte, at which point Charlotte can either tap out or Ronda will tear her arm out and give it to her family. She says that her family will be in the front row at WrestleMania. She's going to take Charlotte's arm and give it to them as a souvenir. But my biggest question coming out this, because it's a Ronda Rousey speaking, I think speaking in this type of format is a little bit better than out there on the mic in front of the fans. But my biggest question coming out of this is, why did they act like Shayna Baszler is not Shayna Baszler, sparring with Ronda Rousey? They acted like she didn't even exist or that was a random person. That just bugged me the hell out. What about you, Dutch?
I don't know. I have no idea. But what I was going to say, I didn't even notice that. I guess that, see, it almost makes you a point. I saw somebody sparring, but didn't even know who it was. But you know how many? It's in a room. The ring is in a room. They got about 4 of those rooms set up because that's for the guys to go and rehearse their match.
Yeah.
And it's set up all week long. Did you know that? Every WrestleMania, they set those rings up so guys can go, and you got to make an appointment too. That's why I asked you about the number of matches, because if they got all these matches. I mean, you just can't use the ring on Sunday because it's going to be tied up. So through the week, they'll have 3 or 4 rooms with a ring in them, and that's where guys go and work out their matches. Yeah, I learned about that. I think the WrestleMania. What was in 2013? 29.
WrestleMania 29. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was there. That was
Okay.
my first WrestleMania live.
Really, that's when I started with managing
Swagger.
Skagger, I call him.
You say everybody's name wrong. Is that the theme for this
Oh yeah, I
episode?
just do it. But well, it's kind of natural because I can't remember the name anyway, so I just call him whatever. Because somebody said he can't remember names or nothing. And, anyway, but it kind of fit the gimmick. But I understand what you're saying, but there's no way to figure out that wasn't intended. I'm sure.
No. And it's something that they kind of showed on social media as well. Her training with Shayna Baszler there as well.
I think it's showing because they're both UFC or martial arts.
They're best friends. They're real life best friends. When Ronda was the coach on Ultimate Fighter, Shayna Baszler was one of her students on her team in Ultimate Fighter, and then they became a part of the MMA Four Horsewomen with Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, who had a video package on AEW Dynamite because she's in AEW now.
Well, so I don't have an answer to your question, but it's WWE, so we did find something wrong with the show, even though I didn't even notice it. Even though I like the show much better than Rampage. I think this is the best SmackDown show I've seen since I've been doing this.
You like the show way more than I do.
Well, I did because nothing didn't go particularly long, and everything had a little bit of an edge on it. So if WWE can put this show together tonight, even though it's a maintenance show, why can't they do it on more of a consistent basis? Because this show had to hit. It had to hit because Vince is right there. And he was a segment. I like Vince's segment too, by the way.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that next. They went into more even hype. This felt like a big hype for Charlotte and Ronda. We got a video package covering their feud. Then we had Charlotte come out in front of the fans with a mic. She calls the video package we saw epic. She says that the pain she's inflicted on Ronda is more beautiful, poetic, or cathartic than the Oscar winner Coda. Clearly, Ronda is pissed, and Charlotte is going to destroy her. We can all see through the facade of Ronda Rousey pretending to have her anger under control.
I had an idea.
Yeah.
During that interview with Flair, you know who I had to go out there? Will Smith, and slap the crap out of her. Now that would have made news. Then everybody else, now they'll be behind him because everybody else is knocking him now. I'm not really knocking him, but
he had to withdraw from the academy today. So
I don't know. I don't know.
I just know it's not a work. It's definitely not a work. You could tell it wasn't a work when everybody got quiet after he said for the second time, "Keep my wife's name out your effing mouth." Charlotte calls herself cool and does the same thing over and over again, saying that this is cool, that's cool, and then she ends calling Ronda Rousey a bitch.
But see, when she said bitch, that ruined it for me.
Yeah.
Because now you got to resort to that. It was a pretty good interview, and you resort to that. I mean,
it's like she heard the crowd wasn't reacting, and she needed that reaction. So I think that's why she added the bitch.
Well, it's her interview, so nobody will remember it tomorrow. I'm barely remembering it right now, but I do remember the bitch, and I'm thinking, you didn't need that. I don't think. It doesn't hurt nothing, but I don't think it helps her.
No, I don't think so. I agree. In the back, we see Madcap Moss once again. He's buffering his trophy, and then Happy Corbin walks up with Drew McIntyre's sword to scare him.
That was good.
They share a laugh. We also get a prolonged video package of everything that's went down between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. We come back and we get I think we got one part of it, then we got another part. Then after that, we get the entrance of Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura. Of course, Pat McAfee is doing his usual hype job on the desk partying, but Austin Theory comes from out of nowhere and trips him on the announce table. McAfee is pissed, so he chases Theory into the back. Theory again hides in Mr. McMahon's office. This time, though, McAfee turns around and he kicks the door open, but he is met by none other than Vince McMahon. Vince asks McAfee if he wants to be fired or to lose his match. McAfee says no, so Vince sends him back to the commentary desk and back to the ring, and that leads to our next match. What did you think about the interaction between McAfee and McMahon?
It was good. Very good. Because McAfee had to suck it up. So he is the boss. And go back out there. And Austin Theory's got the best job in this because all he's got to do is stand behind and go, ooh. You know, he can't do nothing. Oh, you want to kill him. And, you know, if that was me, I'd want to kill the guy.
Yeah,
but that was a good story. So, and that is another story that has a lot of strings hanging from it if they'll attach them, because it's an emotion that you know of as a little kid. You know, the tattletale, or he runs to the teacher, or he runs to his mama, and you can't do nothing. And it goes back. It's just an old emotion. And if you put yourself in McAfee's spot, you want to kill the guy. That's another match I'm looking forward to. I like simple stuff, just simple little stuff.
I think they did.
Been around for years. You go ahead.
They did more to get over this whole McAfee Theory thing in this night than they did in the past couple of weeks. I felt like they kept trying to retread him knocking the headset off of his head too many times. At least they did something different here.
They only did it twice, right? Leading up to this, then tonight he dumped the water on him and knocked him off. It was good. I enjoyed that, and that gets Vince back. But somebody was suggested to me, well, maybe they're going for Vince against McAfee. I said, no, I don't think they're going to do that. I think Vince is past the age of stepping in that ring. Now, he may go to the ring with Theory, and I hope Theory realizes how lucky he is to have Vince attached to him.
Yeah.
Because that's just nothing but, because that gives Vince a chance to know the guy, talk to the guy, and kind of like him. So, and I don't know why they picked him, but I bet he needs to go to bed at night and say a little prayer that history has bestowed upon him, that he has Vince in his corner. And he's doing stuff with Vince because he's the only one other than Stone Cold and The Rock that's really done stuff with him, maybe Undertaker. And look at where they are. So I hope he's appreciative of it, because I damn sure would be. I'm going for real. Okay.
Really only top stars, and then there's been guys like, you know, Eugene's of the world or Hornswoggles of the world that have worked with Mr. McMahon, but for the most part it's only top stars. So if you see something in Theory, it shows that by him working with him. That's why I want McAfee to beat him, because it creates more of a story between Theory and McMahon. But we had our next matchup.
Okay, I think he will beat him.
You think so?
I think so, because because it just makes they can work that into the story. Vince is not happy with that. Now he puts, if they want to go that route.
Yeah.
But I don't think it hurts anything for Theory to get beat. Because for McAfee, I think if he's going to be out there and he's talking every week, he needs a little bit of credibility behind him. Because he's a football player, so he's used to getting knocked around. I heard he was pretty good. He had a match in NXT, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a match against Adam Cole.
How was that?
It was really good. It was really surprisingly how good he was. And then he was in War Games and he had a nice showing there. He's 0-2, so that's why another reason why I think he's going to get the victory here. But I feel like they're trying to make him into like the Jerry the King Lawler role, where he's a commentator, but he can also, when the feud fits, he can come into the ring and be an active competitor as well.
Well, they need that. If they want to do that, he's a perfect guy to do it with.
Yeah. and he's over. So that's the best part. But speaking of Rick Boogs, where he always gets on the desk and parties for that with McAfee, Boogs went one-on-one with Jimmy Uso.
Mm-hmm.
This was another short match here. Like you said, Austin Theory came down and throws a cup of water into McAfee's face. This, for some reason, brings out Finn Balor to attack Austin Theory, and I'm very confused on why. Because I think that the last time these guys interacted, Balor beat Theory, so I didn't understand the reason why Balor came out and tried to beat up Austin Theory. They fight into the ring, and the match is thrown out. But of course, that just leads to a 6-man tag team matchup of Finn Balor, Rick Boogs, and
So,
Shinsuke Nakamura versus Austin Theory and the Usos.
well, I had to leave the room for a second. So when I come back, it was a 6-man going on, and I wondered, do they just start these matches just on whatever happens? I
Yeah,
mean, and I saw that, but putting Finn in it, it's not a bad thing. It gives them just another what I call a string hanging down. Just gives them another string to attach something on it, so it'd be very easy for Theory to go into something with Balor or something could be going on. He could go over. McAfee could go over, and then he gets attacked, and Balor makes a save, and so it kind of ties them together.
this is what I said after Monday Night Raw, because on Monday Night Raw, Austin Theory defeated the Intercontinental Champion Ricochet, and then here he defeats the U.S. Champion Finn Balor in the 6-man tag. He hits the ATL to pin Balor while he stares at Pat McAfee. I just feel like both of these wins are to protect Theory because he's taken a loss to a commentator in a lot of people's minds, or an ex-football player in a lot of people's minds. I think Theory now, he in 1 week, he's defeated both mid-card champions. So even if he loses at WrestleMania, he comes out and he can get a shot at either title.
Well, he's the type of heel that's like Sami Zayn too. I
Yeah,
think you can beat him; it doesn't hurt him
true.
because they're smart asses, and people just don't. They don't like them because they are just smart mouths, and you want to see them get their comeuppance. And hell, they could do it every night. A lot of guys have made their living for years and years and years getting beat every night. People still hated them. They should feel sorry for them sometimes, but they still hate them. And they advance their opponent, and it doesn't hurt them. Those guys are golden. You look for that.
Rock Jordan, that's actually incorrect. He attacked him, but Finn Balor beat him 2 weeks ago on Monday Night Raw thanks to Pat McAfee. And on Monday, Austin Theory beat Ricochet, not Finn Balor. Just, just, just
Well,
gotta be, honest here.
well. I didn't know what you were talking about anyway, so I didn't even question it. So, because
No,
I
I'm
call
just
you.
correcting him.
Wait a minute, aren't you the Dutch Mantell approved historian?
Yes, that's my Twitter
See,
name now.
yeah. I saw that and I went, oh, that's good. I like that. But see, I don't ever argue anything with you because you know the history, and I just, whatever you say, it could be just a straight out made up stuff. I wouldn't know the difference. So
Hey, you gave me the stamp of approval, and I
I
went
did.
on and I won the trivia championship for you, Dutch. I
Oh,
won it.
you beat him
I beat Rick and I beat
badly.
Robert
Bad.
DeFelice. Yeah, Rick only had 2 points and I had 11 at the end.
And how many did Rick have?
2.
2 points. Hell, I could probably got 2 points. And I don't know nothing. Seriously, I'm in the business and I know very, very little of wrestling history. And somebody can say, well, how could you do that? I said, easy. You travel these miles and, one beer after another, and after a while, you just block everything out except getting to the next town. That is a form of insanity if you really think about it. Like truck drivers do that. That white
Yeah.
line fever, they call it. And pretty soon they can't remember being in certain towns or staying here or whatever. Going through there, you may stay there, but you have zero knowledge of what you did there. I mean, people say, well, you've seen everything. I said, no, I've seen nothing. I physically went to the town and stayed at a hotel. I know that. And then got back in the car and continued driving. You drive by these places, but it's not like visiting them, because then you got to take time and look around. So we just never did that on the road. So, but that segment you were talking about, pretty good segment. I liked it. I liked all of SmackDown tonight.
You
You need
even
to
like
you need to write this down. Dutch actually put over SmackDown for some reason. He
hey,
must be drunk or high or something.
the writers can do that. They could put
And
over how Dutch loves SmackDown.
which pissed me off because I'm thinking if they did such a good job tonight, why can't they do that on more a consistent basis? I mean, why bat 0 when you can bat 25 maybe, or at least try to hit close to 50. But sometimes shows don't even do that. Horrible.
It's tough. It's tough out here, but they ended the night with happy talk, and that's probably why I didn't like SmackDown as much as you.
Mm-hmm.
Moss welcomes us to happy talk and tries to put over his Andre win, but Corbin cuts him off, reminds him that he won the Andre on his WWE debut a few years ago. But Corbin is still happy for Moss and happy overall. After Mania, he's darn near going to be euphoric, and he says that the Drew McIntyre sword is not called Angela anymore. He's going to call it Euphoria. And Corbin asks for a joke, but then interrupts Moss for a joke. And he says, what does Drew McIntyre's sword and his mother have in common? He lost
That
them
was
both. That was bad.
that was bad.
Yeah, that was like, I was like, okay, now you crossed the line. I understand you're
Sure
trying
did.
to make this heated, but that's like, I don't, I can understand, like something like Cameron Grimes on NXT. He's been talking about his deceased father and how he promised his father he was going to win a championship. So he's making himself more sympathetic as a babyface. But when a
Who is
heel
this?
Cameron Grimes on NXT.
Okay.
But when a heel does this, I always feel like it's a little distasteful.
It is. Not a little. It's really a lot because it kind of ruins it.
Yeah.
It comes to the point of not being entertaining. And he didn't need that. Or he could have changed it something that's not as brutal. And that's why you didn't like the show. I'm saying because it ended like if you're looking at damn McIntyre standing there and to end such a good show of SmackDown like that, that's a letdown. So
Sure.
I agree with you there.
That brings out Drew, and he's pissed, of course. Moss heads out to attack him, but Drew punches him down, and Drew stalks around the ring and gets a steel chair to head after Corbin in the ring. Drew tosses the chair into Corbin's head and then takes the sword back. Corbin barely avoids a swing of the sword, and that wasn't enough for Drew. He starts destroying the whole talk show set and then chops the table in half with the sword. Drew paces and stares, but Corbin and Moss got behind the invisible force field of the entrance ramp, and they basically end the show with running down the cards for WrestleMania. And after that, Drew stabs the ring to trigger some pyro all around to end the show. I just felt like this show felt hollow.
Stabs the ring.
Yes.
So I think if they'd have put that in another spot and maybe ended it on a higher note, but it already had that comment about the mother, and that wasn't even a big thing, but it just kills the mood. If you could have enjoyed the show, and I bet everybody said they didn't need that, and they didn't need that.
Yeah.
And now you should have run Will Smith out there and slapped Corbin. Now I've been a high note again. See what I mean? See, I'm trying to work current events into some of this stuff.
I see.
But expect Will Smith on a WrestleMania probably next year.
I just felt like this was poorly paced, and I felt like the best match was the Intercontinental title match, and it should have ended the show. I felt like that match was good enough to end the show. It would have put some emphasis on the Intercontinental title, and they still could have done the rundown of the card to end the show to give it the last sell for the show. We didn't need Corbin and Moss to get that many segments on the show.
I will text them right away and tell them of your disapproval. And I said, he's Dutch Mantell approved, and he didn't like the show. I'm just telling you. I'm not going to add any more, and they should take the cue from there. So we're on Rampage now?
Yes, let's talk
about a very important, I think, this is another thing I didn't bring up earlier. There was two things that I didn't like about Rampage starting off. Was the destruction of the car, because we just saw that last week on SmackDown, right?
That's true. Yeah.
And they did this show on Wednesday, so there's no arguing the fact that no, they didn't see that. But that was just almost doing what damned Brock Lesnar did last week. He destroyed the car.
I even put out a tweet that this felt like this should belong, that whole segment felt like it should have belonged on SmackDown. It didn't feel like a Rampage type of segment. I mean, what did feel the reason why I enjoyed Rampage was the opener first. You had the Young Bucks versus Top Flight. The match was already underway to start off, but this was just two high flying teams trying to outdo each other, with the Young Bucks playing very like jerk heels, trying to stop the Top Flight and the duo going off on them. Darius and Darius Martin actually stood out a little bit here. I usually like Dante more.
That was, what were the babyface's name?
Top Flight, Darius and Dante Martin.
Dante Martin and Darius. What's his name? Is that his name, Darius?
Yeah, that's his. Darius Martin.
Yeah, they're good. They do that move, the three-way they did. One gets behind the other and something goes over. And
yeah,
I'd have to run that back to tell you what they did. Because it was just a match of like high spots.
Yes, it was.
And
it was fast-paced.
They were well done, and it was fast-paced. And then you go to the 90 seconds picture-in-picture, which I kind of hate. I don't know why I hate it, but and then when they come out, they don't do any more. They just do it up front. And I understand the reason to use it, but I don't much like it.
That's fair.
I mean, they're not going to listen to me, but. And I don't. I hate their commentating team too. I mean,
I feel like Jericho is unnecessary at this point.
Well, I can't hear them most of the time because they're stomping all over each other. Now you got your picture-in-picture when they say the town's coming up, but they need to give that just a little more breathing room, because if you look away, you're gonna miss the whole thing. And I'm sure they don't depend on that to draw the crowd. They're going to do that local advertising, but still, it is a way to contact your fans that you're on the way to their town. Okay, continue.
So it came down to Darius and Nick Jackson. They exchanged strikes inside the ring. A high roundhouse kick by Darius misses, but not his sidekick to Jackson. Just when he looks like he's about to get the advantage, Nick delivers a roundhouse kick that connects, and then they sets up for both Matt and Nick to hit the BTE trigger. I thought the finish was very cool. It was very just smooth how they worked that in. Top Flight is awesome. These guys are just always cool what they do in the ring, and always they do stuff that nobody else seems to be able to do, and they meshed very well with the Young Bucks. So I thought this was a good opener to the show. What about you, Dutch?
It was a good opener. Had no story to it, but maybe they can build something off that.
I think the story was about giving the Young Bucks momentum, because the other thing from ROH that I didn't mention is I told you at the top of the show that FTR and the Briscoes, they had a 5-star classic on this night, probably the best match that I saw all week long. But
since you said a 5-star classic,
yes.
What if it was in the Tokyo Dome?
It would be 7.
See, it immediately adds 2 stars. And if you gave it a 7, he'd have to give it a 7.5.
Absolutely. But the FTR, the big news is FTR defeated the Briscoes to become the new ROH World Tag Team Champions. They shook hands with the Briscoes and hugged them after the match. FTR went to the back, and then the Briscoes were attacked by the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks came in. They delivered the BTE trigger to Jay. They were about to deliver the Meltzer driver to Mark, but then the FTR came back down. They challenged the Young Bucks to a match right there and there at Supercard of Honor. but the Young Bucks said they would verse them Wednesday in Boston on AEW Dynamite. And as we saw on this show, the Young Bucks went backstage. They had a promo where they said, now people might know is that we accept your challenge. We're going to fight you Wednesday on Dynamite. And it's now going to be for both the AAA and ROH World Tag Team Championship. So I really felt like the opener was just to give the Young Bucks a win because they have a bigger match, this FTR versus Young Bucks 2. Is that the type of match that would make you watch Dynamite this week?
Maybe. But I would watch it because of the teams.
Yeah.
I may not even know what they've done, but I've been reading like they want this match and just by bits and pieces. So I may watch it because of that. But I don't know. I think at this point now we got so much wrestling, we're getting it confused. So, but it wasn't bad. I do like the Bucks talking to the cameraman.
Yeah, Brandon.
If they would slow that down just a little bit and introduce Brandon.
They do. That's the one that's in their corner. That's always in their corner. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I got it. Now I got it.
Yeah.
So you had to tell me that.
Yeah.
See, because I'm listening to the commentators, but I can't. They're talking too fast.
True. That is
Tell
true.
the commentators. Tell me the story. Now I bet people could be listening and said they've been telling the story, you moron. But see, I can't understand a lot of what they're saying because they're talking over each other. Slow down a little bit. Sometimes it's almost like the commentators are trying to outdo each other. I mean, you need that straight man in the booth. You need that JR. You need that Bob Caudle. You need that Tony Schiavone. You need the guy who kind of stays in the lane, and the other guys can go back and forth, which I don't think you need but one other guy anyway. You ever watch any British wrestling from years and years ago?
No.
They had one announcer, and he doesn't talk nonstop. He stops. And then now you can kind of watch the match. And if he makes a move or he can tell you the strategy, now you're watching it. Some of these announcers are announced like you didn't see it either. Oh, he throws a punch and, well, hell, I saw that. I mean, I can make my mind up about that without you telling me how effective it was. How do you know how effective it was? I don't know. The guy may sell it a little bit. But I did like the British style where that one announcer calls the action and you can kind of take it in. So if you only got one guy talking, he said, oh, and fans in New Haven, Connecticut, we're coming, and then do your date and then give it a little breathing room. But I think those AEW announcers are just talking too fast and trying to get too much in too short a time. And they're missing, totally missing. Are they Well, again, they're missing me. They may not miss you, but they're missing me. It's like in a crowd. One old timer told me one time, he said, don't work for the ringside, work for the top deck. Because that's where you get the sellouts. When you fill those top decks up, then you got to sell out. Just a point. Just a point. And you can say, what the hell are you talking about?
we did get next a video package of the new all different Chris Statlander. I mean, it was just very quick, so it's not much to talk about there.
Okay, before I get off, I do think, remember I told you they beat the car up?
I was getting into that segment next.
a total miss. And the Danhausen interview, to me, Hook knew he wasn't going to say nothing. That was, to me, a total miss. Maybe I need more of the Danhausen stuff. I kind of understand the gimmick, but if I'm a new fan, you got to explain Danhausen. Has he been on this show before?
Yes, he has.
So the people, they should know it.
Yeah, I kind of get it, and he's basically, anytime he comes out, he basically curses people. They basically pause or they get hurt right after. He just knows how to make people. Yeah, that's why he did the curse.
Yeah.
whole thing with that, and it doesn't work on Hook apparently. But first, before that, we had the segment you've been talking about. Dan Lambert is with Men of the Year and Paige Van Sant as they are taking cheap shots at Orange Cassidy, Sammy Guevara, and Ty Valkyrie.
Mhm.
Ty Conti. Lambert reiterates that Sammy is not getting a shot at Scorpio Sky's TNT Championship. There's no more open challenge. Sammy and Conti appear on screen and they are backstage, and they say since he doesn't want to give them their title shot, they destroy Lambert's car and they write graffiti to leave American Top Team stunned inside the ring. I was just like, this felt like a SmackDown segment. Throw it away, throw it in the bin. I wasn't interested in that.
This is what I heard Jericho say. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, wait a minute. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. What is it? A $200,000 car? What was that car anyway?
I don't even know.
It didn't look like that expensive a car. I don't know. They lose me sometimes. Sammy stuff isn't working for me, to be honest. We'll take Russell. Well, let me tell you something, Real Take Russell. Maybe they don't want it to work for you, by God. Maybe they want it to work for somebody else. I'm going to be honest, it's not working for me either. So
it's not working for me either. And
that makes three of us.
It didn't work last week on Dynamite. It didn't work here. They got to go back to the drawing board on this one. But I do disagree with you with the Hook segment because I am a big Hook fan. That's one. But Danhausen was funny here. He is funny. He is funny.
I'm just trying to understand it.
He's trying to once again put a curse on Hook. He tells Hook that everybody stands still when he does it, but the man is not phased and he just walks away. I laughed because it was humorous.
Now that since you explained it, I kind of get it because he's trying to put the curse on Hook, and it's not even working.
Yeah.
He don't understand why. Okay, now that you've explained that, I kind of understand it, but before I didn't understand it. And the announcer didn't help me either.
Yeah, I think the big issue that you're having with this episode overall is that there's too many announcers, so you don't know which one to listen to, and they're not telling the story properly or not telling the story at all. So I do think that is a valid criticism of the show overall.
Well, the announcers they get loud. They're trying to talk over each other. I don't know where they got them. But they're trying to me, they talk over each other, and I'm just using myself as a barometer. Because if I don't understand them, I don't think the regular person can understand them either. And that's what they're not aiming to show at me. They're aiming at the average fan. But if I'm not getting it, I don't think an average fan is going to get it either. My opinion, for what it's worth.
This is fair. We had our next match. It was a trios match, House of Black with their cool entrance. I love their entrance every single time. They went against Fuego del Sol, Stu Grayson, and Evil Uno of Dark Order. We went right into basically a picture-in-picture break right from like the start of this, but we come back from commercial. Evil Uno gets a sit-out powerbomb on Malachi Black, a pin attempt by Uno, but Brody King sends Grayson crashing into the pin attempt. Brody King was very strong in this matchup. He cleaned house. He does a senton off the apron onto Dark Order. Buddy is in the ring, and Malachi Black and Fuego is surrounded by House of Black. He fights them off. Evil Uno and Stu Grayson help him out. It comes down to Fuego and Malachi Black in the ring. He gets a bunch of momentum. He does a poison Rana. He looks like he's about to get the advantage on Malachi Black, but after he does a springboard, Malachi lays him out with the black mass roundhouse kick, and that's it. 1, 2, 3, House of Black win. What did you think about this one?
Pretty good match. I liked it. But this is where I came in. These guys need to wear some lighter colors because, Black's going to wear black. But the other guy, who's the guy with the mask on? He's wearing black.
That's Evil Uno.
Okay. And the kid, Fuego,
yeah,
he's got the red on. At least he's got that on. And the other guy, I think, has got some dark stuff on. But I don't know why they don't notice that because WWE, they will tell you, don't wear the black. But I've seen they've slipped to that lately because I've seen a lot of black. But the difference between WWE and AEW is WWE, they have that massive lighting set up. So you can actually wear black and still be seen. But AEW, The building looks dark. I mean, if you tune into it for the aesthetic effect, which most wrestling fans don't, it's okay. But if you're looking at it as to be somewhat equal to WWE as a spectacle, if you're just blending into the background, it's easy to miss you. So, but the match was good, and I think Fuego kind of got over here because he was going to fight them all one time. So he's getting over.
He's been getting over in this feud with House of Black. We even had Penta El Skiro later on in the night. He cut a little promo talking about House of Black better not be too distracted with Fuego because he's still coming for them. So that feud is still going.
Okay, is this the guy with the hood on?
That's the one. That's his manager, Alex Abrahantes.
And Alex.
Yeah.
See, he speaks Spanish, which is good. I don't mind that because he's saying something very deep and mysterious, I guess. But he was all black again. And the other guy's in all black, and he's got dark hair.
Well, with that one, Penta only has gotten into like this whole black attire because of House of Black. House of Black, Malachi Black spit the black mist into his eyes, and that's why he's been in this more dark attire now.
Okay, I understand that. But I'm saying that now it's up to the producer or the director to put him in. And I know he needs a dark background. I got that. But I would have shot him something with the light coming up on him. Or not coming down on him, but coming up from the, to me, if you're going to blend into the background, that's where people are going to remember you. So let's do a different lighting setup on him or something. Because I think if Tony Khan told his lighting guy, he said, hey, I need to picture him different. So this is your job. So figure out how to make him stand out a little better. The interview was good. I liked the interview because it sounded mysterious. He sounded believable. So, and I don't even know the story. But when they speak in Spanish, let me tell you, Diablo. I go, what the hell? Kind of scares me.
Well, we had 2 more matches to go on this one. We had the Owen Hart Women's Tournament qualifier as it was Sky Blue versus Jamie Hayter. They went right into the matchup. No entrances for both ladies. This
one was in red, right?
Yes.
One was in blue.
Yes.
And they didn't blend in.
This is true. True.
I was telling you.
Sky Blue got some hope spots here, but this was really a showcase for Jamie Hayter. She was pretty dominant throughout this one. She ends things with a back suplex, then a sheer drop brainbuster that she just landed Sky Blue right on her head, and then she hits a ripcord lariat, the Rainmaker, to get the victory here. I thought that this was a strong showing for Jamie Hayter. Sky Blue got a couple of hope spots, but they need to do more with her because I think she has potential, but Jamie Hayter she has that aggressiveness and very physical in the ring, and she showed that here. What did you think about this one?
Good match for what it was intended for. Who is the girl outside?
That's Rebel. That's Rebel and Jamie Hayter are a part of Dr. Britt Baker DMD's crew, and they even said on commentary, this was one thing I did get from commentary on this show, is that Britt Baker has said that she will not return to AEW until they're in her hometown of Pittsburgh on April 20th for Dynamite.
Okay. And that was my next question, is where is Britt Baker?
Yeah. So they answered that.
Good. So now, and I missed that. But see, Britt Baker, they've been pushing her strong.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I noticed, that Britt Baker's not with these girls. So I think they make a good trio.
I do too. And it's a rare group of all women, a whole women's stable. They have a bunch of stables in AEW, but that's the only one that's like an all women's stable. I hope they have more because that's a good way to use a bunch of performers. But that led into the main event of the evening. We got
where was your girlfriend tonight?
Who, Thunder Rosa?
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa.
So you knew who she was.
Thunder Rosa is my favorite. I'm a happily taken man.
I got it, But I thought she was like your girlfriend of the girl wrestlers. But so she wasn't there tonight, right?
No, she was on Dynamite this week, but she wasn't on this show here. But Jamie Hayter is now in the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament along with Tony Storm, so that could be an interesting matchup to go to right there. But we had the main event, which was totally different from everything else on the show. First, we had the promo segments, which I thought Powerhouse Hobbs actually impressed me here.
Oh, I had to leave the TV. Hey, that interview Hobbs did was good.
The Book of Hobbs and stuff. I liked it. I liked it. It was,
and then, but Keith Lee answered it pretty well too when it says he's like quoting scripture.
Yeah,
but you can't know something until you've known defeat. I don't know what but it was actually a pretty good interview.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. These are two guys that kind of look at Mark Henry as a mentor. So I like the fact they use Mark Henry in that way to kind of get heat on Hobbs and have Keith Lee kind of like defend him. But this was a hoss fight. These two guys just battering rams into each other, strong lockup. We get like the headlock, the shoulder tackles. Keith Lee gives him a shoulder tackle out of the ring before the break. Hobbs works him over, but then we get Ricky Starks comes down to the ring and Swerve Strickland stops him. He yanks Starks off the apron as Hobbs comes from behind on a striking Lee. Hobbs hits the spine buster on Lee and has a pin attempt, but the referee is focused on the action outside. Hobbs demands him to come inside as he tries to pick up Lee, but Keith Lee reverses and out of nowhere hits the Big Bang Catastrophe to get the win here. Like I said, I thought this played out very well. You can see the improvement on Hobbs on the mic as well as in the ring. His pacing, his footwork, his timing were very on point here, and this is probably the best match that I've seen him in going against another heavyweight. Keith Lee is always great at what he does, but I feel like this was a showcase of where Hobbs is at and how he's progressing. What did you think about the main event?
I'm not impressed by Keith Lee that much, but I am impressed by Hobbs. I think Keith Lee, they took him to NXT. I think they warehoused him too long, brought him up. Vince didn't like him. Vince doesn't like guys like that.
Yeah.
They should have known that. But he would like a guy like Hobbs because he's a big guy and he's an athlete. And I'm impressed by Hobbs. Not too impressed by Keith Lee because he's naturally big. So that takes no talent. He's just naturally big. But I think he was brought up at the wrong time in WWE. And I don't know what they're thinking. Vince likes, how tall is Keith Lee? He's not that tall, is he?
No.
6'2"?
Maybe like 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, okay. But he likes those 6'6" and up guys. He likes those. And how tall is Hobbs? They're about the same height, aren't they?
Yeah, I think Hobbs is like 6'1",
but
6'2".
Hobbs he's an animal.
Yeah.
He can do all kind of stuff. I'm kind of impressed by him. And hearing that interview tonight, it actually matched his personality. So, and sometimes a guy quote a little bit of scripture, you're going, what the hell? It always messes me up. So, but I always pay attention to that. But I liked the match. I didn't watch all of it because I had to get up and get ready to come in here, but I did like the match. So I'm thinking, and this would be almost, if it was on last, this would be the finish that I would have. TV time remaining. And let them go, and we'll bring it the rest of it next week. We're out of time. I mean, they used to do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys said, that's because, and tell me, I can't believe anybody that watches wrestling, they're not watching the clock.
No.
So you're saying, okay, it's 5 minutes till, okay, something's going to happen here in the next 5 minutes. Because they can't go over. But they can go off with action still going on. Because I saw that a couple of times in a hell of a match. I'm going, now this is years ago. I don't even know if it would relate to today. But says, we'll bring you the rest of this next week, fans. And then you close and the action's still going on. Think it worked, or you think you'd get burned by it? People burn you up with it?
I agreed with you more last week. I felt like last week would have been a good spot to do like a time limit draw or a
Oh, with who?
DQ with Swerve Strickland and Ricky Starks when
That
they
been a
versed
good that
last week.
that would have been a good one
That
too.
was a top. But I felt like this one got a bunch of time with Lee and Hobbs. They got about 11 minutes here, so they had a really good matchup.
But didn't they take a break in the middle?
Yeah,
And the break is at least 2 minutes.
yeah, it's a 2 minute break. But after the match, there was more chaos, similar to last week. Ricky Starks got the advantage on Strickland by hitting him with a steel chair. He then put him through the timekeeper's table with Rochambeau. He tried to attack Lee in the ring with the chair, but Lee pounced on him. But as Lee was about to choke slam him, Hobbs came in and pounced him through the table, and that was propped up in the corner. So it was a nice little angle that gave Team Taz to stand tall to end the show. And I like how they're progressing this little storyline with Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee versus Team Taz. Probably next week we're going to see this tag team matchup that they've been building to.
Who is Team Taz?
That's Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, Taz, of course, is the leader, and then Hook is also a part of Team Taz.
But Hook is not even. He's not the bad guy.
Hook is an enigma. He's an enigma on his own.
But see, if they do it right, or even halfway right, that's the thing about wrestling. Sometimes you can do something halfway right, and it will still work. See, they got a lot of stuff to go with Hook, especially with Taz there.
Yeah.
I mean, the son, you're gonna do what I tell you or whatever, and he don't want to. And, I mean, if you really think about it, of course, Taz, he'd have great ideas too. But that stuff would work.
It would.
I think if something happened to Hook and Taz gets hurt, and Hook's gonna, he's gonna defend his father and fight for his father. There's a lot of ways to go in that. That's why I like those open-ended, where you really have the universe open to you. You can do anything, especially at the start of it. Have an expanded scope and take it farther. No telling, and you still might get out of it with Hook not saying anything, which is another high spot you can go to. Finally, he says something.
True.
Wasn't that who was that? Who was that in NXT that didn't talk?
Dexter Loomis. Yeah.
Loomis. Yeah. Hey, that guy's pretty good.
He's good.
No, he is good.
He's been good since TNA. Yeah.
Yeah, we had him in TNA for a while. I like the guy. So he reminded me a little bit of Stone Cold.
Wow, that's high praise. High praise.
Well, and he was a good guy, and he would, I wanted to do more with him, but TNA was its world all its own. It was like the gang that couldn't shoot straight. So sometimes, if I liked a guy, that was a kiss of death for him. So Sanjay is working with
AEW, yes,
okay,
and ROH. So yeah,
he's good. He's a good guy. I was in India with him.
It seems like he's gonna wrestle again because he got physical on this show. So it's not just the producer role.
Why did he quit wrestling? Did he get hurt?
I don't know. I mean, he started working backstage at TNA first, and then he left there, and then he went to WWE, and he started working as a producer there. So, I mean, he does have a lot of wear and tear on his body, so maybe he just wanted to step away. But it seems like he's going to wrestle again now that he's aligned with Jay Lethal, who turned heel tonight.
Okay, but AEW, they don't do regular house shows, or do they?
No, they don't do regular house shows, but they are going to be doing some stuff with ROH because Tony Khan has said that he wants ROH to have like weekly television. So he's going to be using kind of his guys in ROH. A bunch of his guys won titles tonight. Mercedes Martinez won the interim ROH Women's Championship. Wheeler Yuta picked up a huge victory. He won the ROH Pure Championship. So that he's been a part of the Blackpool Combat Club storyline with John Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and William Regal. So this was an impressive win for him, and he's officially now signed with AEW as well. So it was a night where the AEW talent pretty much pulled out the clean sweep on ROH talent, so you could see the direction that company is going in.
Well, the only ones that I really knew out of Ring of Honor that much was the Briscoes, because I like that gimmick. They're like northern rednecks. which I kind of like because and they like that. They're really aren't they farmers or dairy guys or some what do they do? Or seriously, don't
they're chicken
aren't they on a
farmers.
farm?
Chicken farmers.
Chicken farmers. That was
Yeah.
it. But I've been around them not that much. But I was on a little weekend jaunt with them in Puerto Rico. Nice guys, and I like the gimmick. They literally look crazy
They do.
because but they're good guys. So I'm interested in Tony Khan is going to be doing Rampage, and he's going to be doing Dynamite, and he's going to be doing Ring of Honor too.
Seems so.
So he's going to book 3 shows
Apparently.
with how much help?
I don't know who's going to help. I mean, I would hope someone like Samoa Joe or William Regal is going to be involved, but it should be interesting. I think we're going to hear more coming out of tonight's ROH Supercard of Honor of who's Tony Khan's team in ROH moving forward.
So who's his team in AEW?
Well, his team is like the EVPs. I know the Young Bucks help out with like the tag team division. Kenny Omega, when he was active, he helps out with like the women's division. Cody was doing, more of his stuff. Jericho has a lot of input in his storyline. So it's kind of like a kind of creative form where it's kind of the performers who are helping with different stuff regarding themselves or other performers around.
Well, that'll work for a while. But when you're doing 3 shows, I mean, I don't know how you remember all that stuff anyway. You may have a plan, but sometimes they overlap. There's something else I was going to ask you too about. I can't remember now, but I do remember it was a good question. I can't remember now what I was going to say. But if I remember it, I'll bring it up.
We'll see if you can remember it next week, Dutch, but we got to sign off on this edition of Smack Talk.
How do we do an hour 35?
I don't know. We had news to talk about. We had 3 shows pretty much that we talked about here. So whoever is editing this, make sure that you put that we also talked about ROH Supercard of Honor, and we broke the news about Samoa Joe is now.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask you now. Oh, I wanted to do this. I wanted to introduce that. It's too late now. You've just done it. You did it 3 times, and I didn't get offered to do it once because I wanted to introduce breaking news.
Breaking news. Dutch, to let the people know where they can find you.
Just email me. I'm getting my website back up and going. It's hopefully. So I may be saying this a year from now. But the email is right in front of you, Dirty Dutch Mantell with 2 L's, gmail.com. And how was our live viewership tonight, Mr. Sid?
It wasn't as high as it usually is, but that's to do with
don't tell Sid that. I mean, don't tell Rick that. He said, "See, I wasn't there, so it went down." But this is another thing I was going to bring up. So I don't think the rating on Rampage will be good at all.
Really?
Well, because if you use this as I'm going to use that word again, barometer. People watching the festivities from WWE. Is that on Peacock?
Yeah, that's where a lot of our viewers are at. They're probably watching WWE Hall of Fame.
Turncoat bastards.
Also, your former employer, Impact Wrestling, had Multiverse of Matches that was on right now. You got GCW, Joey Janela Spring Break 6 that starts at 1 a.m. So there's plenty of wrestling content during WrestleMania week. So we hope you are watching us on demand. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at SP3. I'll be back here on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel tomorrow following NXT Stand and Deliver. Me and Jeremy will be breaking down the show. We'll have our post show. You can also find me on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. Go over and subscribe over there. We're going to be doing a watch along for NXT Stand and Deliver. And then 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, WrestleMania Night 1 watch along. We got special guests Keemstar as well as Kid Behind the Camera. So a bunch of great contests from True Hill Heat. So subscribe over there and subscribe to the Believe in Pro Wrestling podcast podcast with myself and Rick. Have a prediction show with Renee Paquette that's out right now, and you can see interviews with Rhea Ripley and Los Lotharios that are up right now as well. So for Dutch Mantell, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3, and that has been Smack Talk. We will see you next week.